Hey there everyone, welcome back to the channel. Today I am very excited to dive into one of the best horror thrillers I've seen in 2025 so far, Weapons, starring Julia Garner and directed by Zach Cregger. Now, if you've been following modern horror, then you will know that Cregger already has made waves with Barbarian, and let me just say, he has delivered something even more ambitious here. In today's video, I'm going to break this film down from top to bottom, the story, the atmosphere, the characters, the themes, and of course the ending, and why I think that this deserves to be talked about as one of the most standout horror experiences of the year. Now, before I do get into it though, a fair warning, this review will contain massive spoilers, so if you haven't seen Weapons yet, pause this video, go and watch it, and then come back, because trust me, you're going to want to experience some of these reveals for yourself first. So let's start at the very beginning, because the movie opens in the small Pennsylvania town of Maybrook. On the surface, it's a sleepy, ordinary place, the kind of town with tree-lined streets, a single elementary school, a handful of churches, and that familiar small town stillness where nothing really extraordinary ever seems to happen there. We have like this child narrating the story at the very start of the film, and then comes the curveball. I mean, one of the most haunted sequences I've seen in a horror film in years. The camera takes us into several different homes around Maybrook. You got families that are sleeping, the world is just still, and then the clock ticks to exactly 2:17 a.m. One by one, 17 children rise from their beds. They don't scream, they don't speak, they don't even seem fully awake. They all get up and leave the house and run off into the night. So by morning, they're all gone. Beds are empty and the children have simply just disappeared. No struggle, no sign of intrusion, and no logical explanation. The only child who doesn't vanish is Alex, a quiet boy in Justine's class. Now, he wakes up in his own bed. Nothing has happened to him, and that detail that only one child was spared becomes one of the central mysteries of the film. Why him? Why was he chosen to remain? So this whole opening alone sets the tone for the rest of the story. It's horrifying not because of gore or jump scares, but because of how quiet it is, the mystery and the unnatural calm of it all. It just makes your skin crawl, and it instantly transforms Maybrook, the town, from an ordinary town into a place under siege by something unexplainable, something that has already broken the natural order. And from there on in, the movie shifts perspectives. One of the boldest choices that Zach Cregger makes as a director is telling the story through multiple characters' eyes. We spend time with Justine, who is put on leave from teaching and immediately becomes a target of suspicion in the community. We spend time with Archer Graff, played by Josh Brolin, a grieving father who refuses to stop searching for his missing son. We also get the perspective of Paul, a police officer and former lover of Justine, who is caught in between his duty to the law and his conflicted feelings about Justine. Then of course there is Alex, the lone child who was left behind, whose survival becomes one of the central mysteries. And finally we also meet Gladys, played by Amy Madigan, Alex's Aunt Gladys, whose presence slowly transforms from concerned caretaker into something much darker. What I loved is how each perspective layers the mystery. Just when you think you've grasped what might be happening, this story just pivots and adds a new piece to the puzzle. The cinematography handled by Larkin Seppel is gorgeous and unsettling. Everyday spaces, school hallways, suburban living rooms, small town streets are framed in such a way that they feel sort of like alien. The sound design is equally important here. I mean, Cregger co-scored the movie himself, and the music often feels like a low hum, something just under the surface bubbling away, waiting to break through. Silence is used just as much as the sound, so when a sharp note or a sudden noise pierces the quiet, it really does jolt you straight up out of your seat. Now, Julia Garner's performance is nothing short of phenomenal. She is a favourite actress of mine in recent years. She doesn't just play Justine as a stereotypical horror heroine. Instead, she's fragile, she's broken in some ways, but also capable of deep resilience. Now, because these 17 kids have disappeared from her classroom, you see her battling the guilt and the depression, and of course the suspicion from all the parents and everyone around her. She's a woman who has devoted herself to children, only to be painted by, as a monster by her own community after the kids have all gone missing. Now, Julia Garner makes you feel that pain, that weight in every scene, and yet she never lets Justine become one-dimensional. She's complicated, and that's why her journey is so gripping. Josh Brolin brings real gravity to Archer because he embodies a father that is hollowed out by grief, willing to believe in anything, willing to lash out at anyone if it means getting closer to the truth about his missing son. His scenes with Julia Garner are electric because both characters are broken in very different ways, and their desperation ends up colliding. Because also with character Paul, he's got this sense of moral conflict. I mean, he wants to be the lawman who follows the rules, but he's also emotionally tied up in the past relationship with Justine, and that conflict is constantly bubbling away under the surface. And Amy Madigan as Gladys, wow, she starts off as this frail, sympathetic figure, a woman dying of an illness who seems to love her nephew Alex, but slowly, piece by piece, the movie reveals her as something far more sinister. And I tell you what, Gladys is a horror icon in my eyes. She's absolutely flipping amazing. And this actually moves me nicely onto the supernatural element in the film, because this is where the movie really takes off. I mean, for much of the first half, you might believe that the disappearances of the children are a mystery rooted in crime, maybe in cult activity, but gradually the truth emerges. Gladys is not just this sick woman, she is basically a witch, someone who has mastered enchantment and manipulation, someone who survives by draining the vitality of children. She has collected personal items from each missing child, and through them she exerts control. Also, some of the parents, they are enchanted and they are forced to obey her will. Even Paul, the policeman, he also ends up falling under the influence as the movie progresses. It's chilling because the horror isn't just supernatural, it's also psychological. Watching people turn against each other and their own community, watching them betray each other because of Gladys's control is just terrifying in its own right. Now, the climax of the film is just harrowing, and it does pay off. I mean, Justine and Archer, they discover the truth and they end up in Alex's house for the final confrontation with Gladys. Now, Gladys, she ends up unleashing her full power, commanding the enchanted parents and the friends to attack. You've got Paul, who ends up becoming violent. You've got James, who's, this other local, he also turns on them. At one point, Archer is forced to attack Justine against his will. It feels very chaotic, it's desperate. I was absolutely on the edge of my seat during these scenes. It was so intense, so much was happening at the same time. My heart was absolutely racing, and yeah, God, it ticked everything on the box. Now, during this whole final battle, Alex, the one child who had been spared, he takes matters into his own hands. Now, he ends up mimicking Gladys's ritual, using her hair and her ribbons, and using the very tools that she used for control, but he ends up flipping it against her. Now, all of these missing children who have been, enslaved in the basement this whole time under Gladys's control, they end up turning on Gladys after Alex sets these wheels in motion, and one of the most haunting images of the film is basically these missing children are chasing Gladys around the neighborhood, and then they end up destroying her. And what I mean by that is they end up ripping her apart, and the camera does not shy away from these gory moments. It's flipping epic, it's epically gory, and I just thought it was an amazing moment in the movie. And when she does die, the enchantment spell lifts, and the aftermath is not clean. Even though these missing children are found, they are all left catatonic. So even after Gladys, the witch, is dead, the trauma lingers. Also, the parents are broken. Some of them are institutionalized. Alex ends up leaving the town. Justine survives, but her future is uncertain. It is not a neat, resolution, but it's powerful. It's not just this happy ending of ding dong, the witch is dead. It keeps it very real, and I just love that. This movie has so much going on. On the surface, it's about, the supernatural horror, a witch preying on a town, but underneath it's also about grief and blame. It's about what happens when tragedy strikes and a community turns on itself. I mean, Justine, she's scapegoated almost immediately because people need someone to point the finger at when they're faced with the unbearable unknown. And it's also about how grief can consume people like Archer, driving them to desperation. And it's also about the desire to survive, and how trying to survive can turn into selfishness and corruption, as we see with Gladys. And it's about innocence lost. I mean, these children, even when they come back, they are never ever the same. Their parents will never be the same. The film dares to say, sometimes horror doesn't end when the monster is dead, and sometimes that damage is permanent. Now, trying to sort of balance out moments that may not work for everyone, the runtime is over 2 hours, and the pacing is deliberately slow in the first act, but for me, it worked because the atmosphere is so suffocating and the characters are so layered. I mean, from the moment the film begins, I was hooked. I did not take my eyes off the screen. I had no distractions. I was focused. But I can imagine some people may find it a little bit too drawn out. I mean, the tonal shifts might also throw viewers off. I mean, at times it feels like a mystery drama, then all of a sudden it's this supernatural horror, then almost sort of like a dark fantasy in some ways. Now, personally, I love that kind of unpredictability, but if you prefer your horror to stay in the one lane, then it could feel a little bit disjointed for you guys. But, there is still a few lingering questions the film doesn't answer, like why 2:17 a.m. specifically, or how did Gladys first gain her power? I liked the ambiguity, but I know some viewers want everything spelt out, but for me, it was just one of those perfect horror movies. Overall, Weapons, in my opinion, is a triumph. Julia Garner's performance alone makes it worth watching, but combined with the unsettling cinematography, the sound design, the fractured storytelling, and of course, the bold supernatural twists, this movie feels like a modern horror classic, and I honestly feel like that in years to come, we're going to look back and say that this film, Weapons, is an absolute classic. They absolutely got this one right. When the credits rolled, I was shaken but also deeply impressed. I mean, for me, this is easily one of the best movies I've seen in 2025, and a movie that will stay with me for a very long time. I massively encourage all of you to go and see this movie. You will not be disappointed. I am going to give this movie, Weapons, an absolutely solid 10 out of 10, which is rare for me to do, so that on its own should speak volumes to you guys. I mean, this film absolutely deserves it. I could go back and rewatch it all again right now. It was just so good. So then guys, that is all of my thoughts. Now let's hear some of yours. If you've seen this film, Weapons, let me know your thoughts down in the comments box below. Did the ending work for you? Were you as blown away by Julia Garner as I was and the film as a whole? And if you haven't seen it yet but stuck through this spoiler heavy review, seriously guys, just go and check it out. Oh, it was amazing. Okay then guys, well, thank you all for spending time with me today. Don't forget to hit that like button, subscribe for more horror content, and guys, I will see you all in my next video.